In the beginning, there was the 8-bit processor, and it was good. Then, in the 1980s, there was the 16-bit processor, and it was better. Although it didn't radically change the way games were played, it greatly improved the experience, making colors brighter, characters larger, and sound effects more realistic. The Sega Genesis was the leader of the 16-bit revolution, crushing all who opposed it and presenting a serious threat to Nintendo's industry monopoly. However, all that changed with the release of a single game, Street Fighter II. No other title was stronger proof of the power of 16-bit hardware, and for one agonizing year, it belonged exclusively to the Super NES. During that year, Sega and its third parties struggled to find an alternative to the game of the decade without success. This is the story of the second-rate substitutes that they created. Fighter's Misery, Genesis doesn't.
Treco's Fighting Masters was one of the first Street Fighter II clones on the Sega Genesis, and also one of the most ambitious. Rather than imitating Capcom's smash hit, Fighting Masters moves beyond it with an intergalactic setting and outrageous special moves. We're talking about the kinds of high-flying, hard-hitting attacks that even Capcom couldn't touch until the release of X-Men vs. Street Fighter 4 years later. The character roster is equally cutting-edge. Rather than your usual selection of generic martial artists, you're given a galaxy full of blade-wielding androids, horse-headed heroes, and, this guy. One reviewer called him the love child of George Foreman and the Michelin Man, but that was over 15 years ago. Let's update that description a bit. Take the human version of Bender, and one of those creepy Japanese dolls, and throw in an extra order of man boobs. Aha! Perfect! So, the moves are great, the characters are original, and the graphics aren't too shabby by early Genesis standards, so what's the problem? Ah, yes, I was getting to that! Fighting Masters has a lot going for it, but what it lacks in spades is variety. You can't pin the blame on the 3-button controller either. The fact of the matter is, the game was made on the cheap by a teeny-tiny company that no longer exists. Fighting Masters is only 4 megabits, half the size of the fondly remembered Genesis conversion of Strider, and 1/10 the size of Super Street Fighter II. That means you only get 4 stages and a small handful of attacks for each hero. Sure hope you like that aerial body slam, because you'll be seeing a lot of it if you're playing as Dirk. The grappling system makes each fight even more monotonous. Punch your rival, grab him, then slam him to the ground. Punch your rival, grab him, then slam him to the ground. Punch your rival, grab him, then... Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. Problem with Fighting Masters is that the designers ran out of room on the cartridge before they ran out of ideas. The game breaks more ground than Dig Dug and Mr. Driller combined, with the superhuman special moves of Marvel vs. Capcom, the devastating wall strikes of Waku Waku 7, and the flashy finishing blows of the later Street Fighter games. Unfortunately, it's hard to appreciate all that innovation when the meat and potatoes of the game are so unsatisfying. The fighting could have been beefed up considerably in a sequel. Hey, even Street Fighter wasn't so hot until it hit version 2.0. But the nihilist storyline coupled with Treco's mysterious disappearance made that impossible. All you can do is just sit back and wonder what might have been. Well, either that or just play Darkstalkers.
Everybody had matching towels. Somebody went under a doll.